Today, OnePlus announced the 5, and in this video we'll have a closer look onto the new flagship and we'll compare it to its predecessor, the OnePlus 3T, so stay tuned. Well, it's now called 5 because the 4 in China is not really a lucky number, and especially we had before this one there was the 3 and now the 3T, so it's kind of a 5, let's call it like that. You see, also remained that aluminum unibody like on the predecessor, that's the 3T here. You have two versions, that's black and there's a dark gray, much more darker than this one here. You have a little bit more round curved edges here, so it's resting a little bit more friendly in the palm, but still that aluminum, and it's very matte, so a really good grip, and you see almost no fingerprints at all, just a little bit, very slightly here, but you can just wipe this one. You do not need a tissue or something to wipe it away. Very great. Especially I love that because it's more stable, like these full glass phones, especially like these with the curved edges. Just to say an example, Samsung Galaxy S8. So if this one is dropping here, it may survive more than just to say an example, Samsung Galaxy S8. Just in case it drops with the panel flat onto a solid hard floor, then of course you do not have any chance at all. Just in case you do not have any protection cases ones around. So really rough, very stable like the predecessor, but it's still the same haptics because, yeah, okay, you have 153 instead of 159 grams now. I do not feel that. And the manufacturer is telling, okay, it's the thinnest OnePlus, 7.25 millimeters thickness. Okay, I measured 4.9 millimeters here on the edge, and here on the dual, we're coming to this one later, dual camera, it's 8.0 millimeters. So in most cases, it's 7.3 instead of 7.4. So that's not really a huge difference. And especially you have now 74 millimeters width instead of 75, 154 instead of 153. So it's identical in your palm. There has changed nothing for me concerning the haptics, nor concerning the display. It's exactly the same. You have again Super AMOLED, almost 5.5 inch, 139 millimeters, same resolution, Full HD again, meaning 1080 by 1920 pixels. So you're coming to the very same pixel density of 402 ppi. Now it's Gorilla Glass 5 on the top, 2.5D means always like a pillow curved around the edges here. So going almost seamlessly into that aluminum unibody. Very great crafting here. I love this one. Then you have, again, internal fixed embedded battery. That's now 3,300 milliamps instead of 3,400. So a little bit less, but the manufacturer is telling it, wait, we first have Android 7.1 and a new Oxygen OS version number 450. And together with that, we saved a lot of power consumption. They are telling us the OnePlus 5 is running 20% longer than the 3T, even if it's having 100 milliamps less. We'll see that in the final test, of course. And they're telling also dash charge is now giving you 1 day after 30 minutes of charging. We know that it's really charging fast like on the predecessors, but also we have to see in the test if this is really true, especially 1 day is very, yeah, you can understand a lot of this. How long is it, what you're doing with this day, and so on. And we will have to test it, but it looks okay. But let me tell you once more, like we have aluminum unibody, no wireless charging still. But I guess a solid phone is better in real day life than one that looks great but can do wireless charging. But that's just my personal opinion. Under the hood, we have a new processor, of course. That's now the Snapdragon 835 instead of 821. So we have 8 instead of 4 cores, clocked at 2.46 and 1.9 gigahertz. And these are the new ones, the Cryo 280. So more powerful, more quicker. You have a new graphics module, Adreno 5 540 instead of 530, and you have 3 and 8 GB of RAM depending on the version you're buying. So meaning the 6 one, the small one, has 64 GB internal memory, or the bigger one has 8 and 128 GB. But unfortunately, you once again cannot expand the memory with my micro SD cards. You see here below we have 2 slots, but 2 dedicated nano SIM slots. So you cannot insert instead of the second nano SIM a micro SD card and thus expand the memory. So if 64 GB internal memory is not enough for you, you have to go for the bigger one. Prices at the end of this video with 128 GB, and that's a net of a little bit below 110 GB, and it's a quick new one, the UFS 2.1. I hope in all countries of the world you know what I'm referring to, and really in all models and versions and everything. But let's knock on wood that OnePlus doesn't do the same mistake like the big manufacturers are doing. You know what I'm talking about, I guess. Yeah, then you have double LTE speed 4G, 600 in down and 150 instead of 300 down and 50 up here on this one, in case your network operator is offering that on your location, if your data plan is supporting this and so on. But it's a invest in the future, let's call it like that. So definitely a good decision. Then you have Wi-Fi SE and NFC like on the predecessor, Bluetooth 5.0 instead of 4.2, and again that fingerprint sensor here, of course, under the home button, and USB-C, but just that's the standard 2.0, so it's not the quicker 3.1. But to be honest, I'm using a lot of USB data transfer, and 2.0 is okay for me, still quick enough. So that's not a deal breaker for me. That thing with the micro SD card here, the missing one, that's a deal breaker in case of you really have to transfer huge data amounts, let's say from one phone to another or from one user to another. That's going really quickly with via that micro SD card. Just change it and you're done. So that might be a deal breaker for some of you, but regular users, let's call it like that, should be totally okay with 64 or at least with 128 GB. So it depends on what you are wanting to do with your phone, if this is okay for you or not. Yeah, with that, coming to the most important for you, of course, I guess, at least, that's the camera. You have already seen 2 optics instead of 1 now on the back side. So it's here we have been 16 megapixels and an aperture of f2.0. That's now on the first one, f1.7 with 16 megapixels. So meaning the first one is gathering more light, and the second one has 20 megapixels with an aperture of f2.6. So meaning both are Sony sensors. The one is 16 megapixels and very bright, the other one 20 megapixels and not so bright, like you have it on these effects here you can doing with that. You might know that, for example, from Huawei phones. So you can have an almost like no loss or no significant loss of quality, that 2 times kind of like optical zoom here. You can, of course, go up to 8 times zoom, but then you have a digital zoom that's with a lot of loss. You almost can't use this, but like we know that from other phones, up to these 2 times, it's kind of okay. If you really need that, standing on another thing, but in case of you might want to experience that, we have to see the quality in the test, but here you know the facts. You can here have that bokeh effect or depth effect, and here you switch between video and photo mode. Here you have more modes, especially that Pro mode, that's a manual mode, slow motion, and here are the settings. That's all like you know that, especially home, back, and here we have the task manager with the recently opened task or used apps, like on the predecessor. That's exactly the same. On the front, it's all the same, because 16 megapixels, again, like on the predecessor, and exactly f2.0, so not so bright like the main, but you now have auto HDR, meaning on the front also the HDR feature is activated automatically if you want to. that it's new, and especially you can now have as front flash the screen if you want to. It's bringing not too much. It's in most cases 2, 3, 4 lux, so not very much, but better than nothing at all. So you can use this one. And the most exciting feature, I guess, about the new one is not the zoom, but the features below on the software. Because first of all, OnePlus is telling me the autofocus is now 40% quicker and is now doing a feature called Smart Capture, reminding me very much at HDR Boost from HTC, because they are taking, I told you on the HTC U11 launch event, that this one is taking 3, at least it was at HTC here, I think, several photos, and then pixel by pixel analyzing the photos and seeing, okay, here we have a better light, more brightness, other color information, and especially this reduces the picture grain, the image grain, by going pixel by pixel and seeing which one is the best one in composing best as possible end result with this one. We have to see on the U11 and here on the OnePlus 5 in the final review, is this really working? What does that mean in real life? But at least here on the launch event, it sounds good. So we have to see what it really is delivering. Video on the front is Full HD, on the backside it's Ultra HD or 4K like on the predecessor. With that, let's come to Oxygen OS and Android 7.1.1. The first one is, you see here that you cannot open here just with a swipe up. Here you have this icon, what's now gone, so you have that space for a 5th VIP app or whatever you are calling these always visible apps down here. So you can just go like that and are in the app launcher, and that's very Android, native Android style, and everything is native Android with just some exceptions, like I will show you from the Oxygen OS with some additional feature you find in the settings. For example, you can now, one thing I have seen was under vibration here, for example. So you have not only vibration intensity, but you also have some vibration patterns. 5 ones you can choose of. So this means this is kind of zzz, zzz, and this one here is zzz, zzz, and this is zzz, zzz, zzz. Also you see what this da zzz and means. I'm not quite sure if you really need that, but you have several or additional new ways of making your phone more individual. What I really like and really see the meaning in the practice is this: you can have figures on the screen, on the standby screen. I just tried it with Node to start the camera here, and you can have several ones, and now especially added them, and that was in the gestures section. Here we are. There you see draw an O, a V, S, M, and W. So I tried it out with this one here, open camera, but you can, of course, open the front camera or just starting recording a video or just any other app you want to. And this for all these features here, S for selfies or whatever you want to. So this one is really working and it's quick, and especially you don't have to unlock your phone, start the camera, and that's causing very valuable time, especially if you want to capture a quick photo. You know that every second or every 10th of a second counts. So Oxygen OS is new here. I know there are updates out now to 7.1 and I guess Oxygen OS 4.16 here from this one. I am not having any information how long will go the updates here on the 3 and the 3T up to which version, meaning if Oxygen 4.50 is coming to these one or when. So sorry at the moment, I guess, but it's just a guess of mine. So don't lay my words onto this one is just a guess. Yeah, coming with that to prices. I told you we have a black and a gray version starting at June 27th. The prices are, for example, in US dollars, 479 and 539, meaning for the small one, the 6 and 64 gigabyte, it's 479 US dollars, and for the big one with 8 and 128 gigabyte, it's $539. So it's a little bit more expensive than the predecessor, even if it already has had that aluminum unibody, very same display. So it's really all about the processor, the Snapdragon 835, and that new dual camera here. So this one really has to make better photos than the predecessor, and I'm not quite sure if this is really happening, because one big thing at last is because you do not have that optical image stabilizer. I guess it's the problem that, like, I've seen any smartphone I've seen has no optical image stabilizer in case it has that dual camera on the back. I guess it's not possible at the moment to have optical stabilizer, so different movements and different resolutions or other optical facts to bring together to one final result with an optical image stabilizer. So this is done with an electronic image stabilizer here. I haven't seen any electronic electronic stabilizer that is really as good as an optical one like here. It's a first time for everything, I guess, but I'm not quite sure if the OnePlus 5 is really the first one with a digital stabilizer that's really convincing me like an optical stabilizer does. So we'll have to see also in the final test if the picture quality really is worth changing here to the OnePlus 5, even if it might be a little bit run longer or have the, I guess at least, more powerful processor and whatever has changed here. I'm not quite sure. So wait with buying, I'd say, to the final test, like always on my website, mobiwatch.net. I will hurry up and do it as soon as possible, I promise. This is enough for the quick first impression here from the launch of the OnePlus 5. Thanks for watching. Please be so kind to rate this video, maybe you even leave a sub, and especially leave your opinion in the comments. Thanks for that in advance. Take care and bye.